Ask you first about trade, because your constituents are in Western New York, right. And there are a lot of folks who are reading headlines this week and saying, why is this administration picking a fight with Canada? Nafta is a no-brainer.
Well, let's start with, Kevin, the devastation of Western New York and the loss of jobs since Nafta. The jobs primarily went to Mexico. And the problem, Kevin, is we don't need three-way agreements. We need bilateral agreements. The U.S. and Canada, and a totally different agreement, U.S. and Mexico. So I'm all about trade for us with these other countries, but they need to be bilateral agreements, and certainly that's what I'm supporting.
Right, but it's Canada. I mean, what do you say to people who are saying, of all the problems in the world, North Korea, what's going on with the Syria crisis, I mean, why are we picking a trade fight with Canada?
It's not a trade fight, but it's all about jobs in the economy. Right. And right now there are some issues with Canada that we need to deal with.
And I want to talk about some of those issues.
Many of them agricultural, but they are one of our largest trading partners. Right now, we don't think everything's on a level playing field, so it's appropriate now to have a bilateral agreement with Canada.
One of those issues is, of course, with the dairy farmers. And
Correct.
I know you have a lot of them in your district. President Trump earlier this week calling specifically on this industry as an argument for how Canada is negatively impacting U.S. business. What exactly are you hoping that this administration does in their negotiations with Canada regarding dairy farmers?
Well, it comes back to unfair trade. They've now taken something they called ultra-filtered milk. They've effectively, with a pricing move, our dairy farmers are no longer able to get that product into Canada. They are now dumping milk into the ditches. The travesty there is beyond belief to see tankers of milk being dumped because there's no market to sell them in. And it's outright unfair trade practices. And we've asked the president to sit down with the Prime Minister Trudeau and let's get this fixed. We don't want a 3-year battle in the courts. We want it fixed right away because we're dumping milk as we speak.
It has been a busy week for you, Congressman. You just voted on the floor, of course, on a bill that would keep the government open for one more week. Let me ask you about tax reform. I know that this, of course, along with health care reform is ongoing discussions, but specifically with tax reform, what is the timeline for when we can see that moving through the House of Representatives?
Well, first we have to pass health care reform to set the stage for tax reform.
That's still
it would be late fall, I would say. We have so many issues on tax reform. The differences in New York, high-tax state, versus Florida or Texas, low-tax states. And we're going to have to do this on our own. Again, Republicans, there'll be no Democrat support for this whatsoever. So I think you're looking at later this year when it comes to tax reform.
How long can you get away with just doing 1-week extensions?
About 2 weeks.
Okay, so busy couple of weeks.
I think next week we'll get this done through the end of the fiscal year. There were just some nuances when it comes to defense spending and the support or subsidy for the individual exchanges with Obamacare, at least to keep them funded through the year. So crossing a few T's, dotting a few I's.
Do you think we'll get a health care vote next week?
I think we will get it within the next 3 weeks.
Next 3 weeks?
I'd like it next week, but I don't want to put an artificial deadline on it.
Congressman, we have about a minute left, but I want to get your take because I can remember staking out congressional meetings during the campaign, and Here we are on day 99 of President Trump's first 100 days in office. What has been the biggest misstep, lesson learned for the administration in working with Congress, and what has been his greatest success?
Well, the misstep, and I won't call it that, it's the frustration of the legislative slog and how slow things move in Congress, and the fact that the Democrats won't help us on anything. That's a reality check. His greatest success, Neil Gorsuch, eliminating the filibuster on future Supreme Court nominees, because we have a feeling that Justice Kennedy and Ginsburg will be retiring. We'll be able to lock down a constitutional Supreme Court for the next 4 decades, the next 40 years. That is an accomplishment here in the first 100 days that really could define his entire presidency.
Congressman.